Or is this full-time MMA now?
I love full-time MMA right now.
Full-time MMA? Nothing else.
My life, man, yeah.
Back to the daily grind, and shout out to the full-time patrons. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
El Jefe, UFC President Dana White has revealed both Brock Lesnar and Jon Jones are still very interested in a potential UFC super heavyweight fight, super fight at heavyweight. I just saw a joke on Twitter actually by MMA Roasted, and he said Dana White's looking at booking Jon Jones and Brock Lesnar for the interim PED UFC title. Pretty funny joke, MMA Roasted. Follow him on Twitter, make sure you do. He's always got funny ass jokes like that. But no, on a serious note, this is a fight that a lot of fans are interested in. You got fucking Brock Lesnar, potentially the biggest UFC fighter as far as like overall size. I'm talking about jacked, you know, on top of being a heavyweight, not fucking the tallest or whatever. I'm talking about potentially the biggest UFC fighter / WWE fighter to ever fight in the octagon, versus arguably the greatest, most skilled fighter to ever fight in the octagon. So this is a fight where it's like, you know, it's a fucking amazing fight in the sense of you get to see how does the greatest skill technically overall go against size. You know, you like to think in a fight, especially with the Royce Gracie and the UFC 1 days and the jiu-jitsu days of the sport, size didn't matter back then in fighting. You know, it didn't matter. You could be Royce Gracie like a welterweight, and you could be taking on a heavyweight, and you could win the fight because he didn't know how to defend his submissions, you know. So you're going to get him on the ground, bleed kick him, do what you got to do if you've watched UFC 1s, 2, and 3. And Royce Gracie was able to come out on top in a lot of those tournaments. Won 4 fights in a row in the same night. And it didn't matter about the size. But now, fast forward, 2018, motherfucker, it's MMA now, and size does matter. Now you've got wrestlers coming over, well-rounded fighters coming over, not just wrestlers, because if you're a wrestler that can't defend a choke, you're in a bad spot. But you've got wrestlers that are also training striking and jiu-jitsu, so they've got the defensive jiu-jitsu to be able to stave off those submissions that they once didn't know how to do. So in wrestling, size does matter. If I'm a fucking 170-pound wrestler and I've got the same skill as a 185-pound wrestler, I'm gonna fuck around and either get controlled by the bigger fighter or use more energy trying to get him up off my back, trying to slug and, you know, lug this fucking big ass dude around and take him down, you know. So that's where size does come into play. So in MMA today, 2018 UFC, it really feels like size does matter a lot of the times. Now you could have, let's say, a fucking dominant wrestling fighter. Let's say Tatiana Suarez, right? She just came through, beat Alexa Grasso. It was kind of like wrestling versus boxing. I mean, if you have a 125-pound female fighter that isn't as well versed in wrestling, Tatiana Suarez has a good matchup there. So what I'm saying with that is, wrestling, you know, does have the upper leg normally, which is what makes this fight between Jon Jones and Brock Lesnar to me so interesting, because not only is Brock Lesnar the bigger fighter, but he's also somewhat of a wrestler. He's not just a guy that comes over here like CM Punk and gets embarrassed in the UFC every time he fights. He's a guy that legitimately came over here, became the heavyweight champion, and has had some entertaining fights in the UFC. But at the same time, he's coming from the WWE, so there's always that question. How well-rounded is he? How would he do against a very well-rounded fighter? Now, I think this fight, Jon Jones and Brock Lesnar, has even more interest. It has my interest more than even like a Brock Lesnar versus Stipe Miocic. Because I count Brock Lesnar out in that fight. If you're going against a heavyweight, a skilled heavyweight, and you're just a WWE guy, you've got a chance because you're a heavyweight, right? If you connect or if you can control him, yeah, you got like a puncher's chance. But you're going to normally lean toward the fucking MMA guy if it's heavyweight versus heavyweight. But now we're talking about Jon Bones Jones. And of course, this entire conversation might not even matter if you're thinking about USADA and those hurdles, right? Because both Jon Jones and Brock Lesnar are out serving USADA suspensions. Brock Lesnar's might actually be over, but last time he fought in the UFC, popped dirty after fighting Mark Hunt, and he had like a year suspension. Now, I do think it's been a year since then, so if Brock Lesnar wanted to come fight in the UFC tomorrow, he would be eligible, but of course he might have to enter that USADA testing pool for 4 months, and who knows how the fuck he's going to get past that. Last time he was able to have an exemption, you know, as a new fighter exemption, so they waived the USADA before, but now he would have to jump into the pool. So would Jon Jones, though. Both of these guys have to jump into the... It's not going to be easy for either one of these guys to come back as far as USADA is concerned. If they're dirty, right? Jon Jones' team is maintaining his innocence. Hell, Brock Lesnar's team is probably maintaining his innocence. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they would have to get past the USADA hurdles and the drug testing hurdles. But if they could do that, then this would be a serious fight, though, a super fight. Jon Jones versus Brock Lesnar at heavyweight. Both fighters are interested. The fans are interested. I feel like Brock Lesnar has the potential to crush Jon Jones like a pop can. You know what I'm saying? Like potentially. But Jon Jones could kick Brock Lesnar right in the diverticulitis, right in the body. We've seen him weak to the body in the past. We've seen Jon Jones throw a head kick at Daniel Cormier, able to take him out. Now, Brock Lesnar's a little bigger, you know, but you still know that Jon Jones throws with some power with his kicks. He could land a fucking kick to the body on Brock Lesnar or keep him at distance with some of his kicks, those oblique kicks and others, until he's able to figure out a way to beat Brock Lesnar. Hell, Jon Jones could potentially submit a Brock Lesnar on the mat. That's also a possibility too, because Jon Jones is one of the most well-rounded fighters. He's not just a guy that's only chance would be to kick Brock Lesnar in the body to get the win, because that's a place we've seen Brock Lesnar have a weakness in the past. This would just be a fight. I don't know how it would play out, and I think that's what makes it so interesting. Jon Jones, one of the most, if not the greatest fighter of all time, of all weight classes, pound for pound. He's had his issues with USADA. We don't know what's going on there. Is it Chinese-laced cocaine that's got steroids in the mix? We don't know what's going on. Is Jon Jones the greatest clean fighter of all time? We don't know that. But if he came back and fought Brock Lesnar and they were both able to pass those damn hurdles, then this would be a huge fight. And honestly, after Jon Jones beat Daniel Cormier, he called out Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar swiftly responded. They showed interest in fighting each other before the suspension of Jon Jones, and now, according to Dana White, they're still interested in the fight. This is what Dana White had to say. He said, Brock's WWE deal is up at the end of the summer. I think and I know he wants to fight, so I'm sure we'll end up getting that figured out, White said. Ngannou's a fine fight, absolutely, talking about for Brock Lesnar, but he said there's a lot of options. Jon Jones is very interested in Brock Lesnar, and Brock is very interested in Jon Jones. Now, as far as, like, you know, we talked about this on Full-Time MMA in the morning earlier. You know, what's right, you know, if we're going off the MMA purists and the hardcore fans, does this fight make sense in that sense? Probably not, right? Jon Jones, former light heavyweight champion, coming up and fighting the super fight. Normally, it's a champion that would be fighting a super fight like that in some senses, you know, but maybe Brock Lesnar doesn't deserve that immediate title shot, so maybe he doesn't have a case to fight Stipe. But all of that aside, all of the MMA pure stuff aside, as far as, you know, where are the rankings? You know, where's Brock Lesnar in the rankings? Where's Jon Jones in the rankings? Does this fight make sense as far as the rankings go? No, that's not what this fight is. This is part of the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Circus. If this fight were to happen, Jon Jones versus Brock Lesnar, it doesn't mean anything as far as the title implications are concerned. I mean, if Jon Jones beats Brock Lesnar, he could very well still go back down to light heavyweight. That's just a one-off at heavyweight. If Brock Lesnar beats Jon Jones, he might go back to the WWE or retire. So it's got nothing to do with who's going to win a title or be a champion. This is just a huge potential fight, a big potential fight between two of the UFC's biggest stars. It would sell a lot of pay-per-views, draw a lot of interest, and help grow the sport in that sense. So with that being said, I'm not going to lie. I'm 100% in for Jon Jones versus Brock Lesnar. As far as would I watch it? Fuck yeah, I watched Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. Are you kidding me? Why wouldn't I watch this? But, I mean, as far as what does it do for the sport and, you know, the rankings, probably nothing, but I'm still in. I'm still interested. Put it on there, put it on a pay-per-view, and I'm fucking sold. I'm not a hard sell, so yeah. But with that being said, man, I've said enough on this topic. Dana White, Brock Lesnar, and Jon Jones seem to still be interested in this potential super fight. Let me know in the comments if you are. Are you interested in Brock Lesnar versus Jon Jones? Or if not, who do you want to see Jon Jones come back against? Do you even want to see Brock Lesnar back in the UFC after UFC 225 and the whole CM Punk debacle? I think it's a different situation. Brock Lesnar is no CM Punk, to be fair. So with that being said, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments about this potential super fight. And as always, thanks for checking out this video. If you're new or if you're just slacking on your pimping, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. And if you want to help support this independent channel, you can either click the PayPal button in the description or you can go to patreon.com/fulltimemma and consider becoming a patron. I'm out.
This is #1 bullshit.